They told you kindness wins. They told you patience is rewarded. They told you the good guys finish first. They lied. Friedrich Nietzsche saw something that polite society refuses to acknowledge, a dark truth hiding in plain sight. The ruthless do not apologize for their victories. Look around you. Who sits in the corner offices? Who commands the boardrooms? Who shapes history? Not the meek, not the hesitant, not those waiting for permission. Nietzsche watched the world with unforgiving eyes and documented what he saw. Power rewards the bold. This isn't a philosophy for the faint of heart. This is the uncomfortable wisdom that separates those who dream from those who dominate. And today, we're going to explore why Nietzsche believed that ruthlessness, when properly understood, isn't just advantageous. It's necessary. But be warned. Once you see this truth, you cannot unsee it. The brutal insight. Friedrich Nietzsche was not born ruthless. He was born sickly, sensitive, a pastor's son raised in a house of women after his father died when he was just 4 years old. He was brilliant, appointed professor at the University of Basel at only 24. But brilliance did not shield him from suffering. Chronic migraines, near blindness, loneliness that carved canyons in his soul. And yet, from this crucible of pain, Nietzsche forged insights that still cut like razors. He watched the world with the precision of a surgeon and the honesty of a child. Quote effect, man is something that shall be overcome. Quote effect, he saw what others refused to see, that beneath every moral system, beneath every claim of virtue, there lurked a will to power. The weak called it evil. The strong called it nature. Truth. Nietzsche didn't celebrate cruelty. He diagnosed it. He understood that pretending humans aren't driven by power is like pretending rivers don't flow downhill. And this insight, it would set the foundation for everything that follows. Slave vs. master. Nietzsche identified two fundamental types of morality that have battled throughout human history: master morality and slave morality. Master morality is simple. What empowers me is good. What weakens me is bad. The strong, the noble, the creators, they define their own values. They don't ask permission. They don't seek approval. They act. Slave morality inverts everything. Born from resentment, it calls strength evil and weakness virtue. It tells you that wanting more is greed, that ambition is sin, that power corrupts. Sound familiar? Because you've been taught slave morality your entire life. Every time you felt guilty for wanting success, every time you apologized for your ambition, every time you shrank yourself to make others comfortable, you were playing by rules written by those who wanted you weak. If this is reshaping how you see the world, hit like and subscribe to keep unlocking these forbidden insights, because the next revelation goes even deeper. The ruthless, they recognize the game. They refuse to play by rigged rules. The will to power. At the core of Nietzsche's philosophy lies a force he called the will to power. Not power over others, though that can be one expression, but the fundamental drive to grow, to overcome, to become more. Life itself is power. Every living thing pushes against its boundaries. The plant grows toward light. The child learns to walk. The artist masters their craft. This is not evil. This is existence. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. The ruthless embrace this will openly. They don't apologize for wanting more, achieving more, becoming more. They understand that growth requires friction. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. The hesitant suppress their will to power. They call it humility. They call it being reasonable. But Nietzsche saw through this disguise. It's often just fear wearing the mask of virtue. The ruthless strip away the mask. They acknowledge their drive. And that acknowledgement, it's the first step toward authentic power. Good and evil. In his explosive work Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche demolished the foundations Western morality was built upon. He asked a dangerous question: who decides what's good? Who decides what's evil? The answer shattered comfortable illusions. Winners. Throughout history, the victorious wrote the moral codes. They defined virtue in ways that preserved their power. The conquered, the weak, the defeated, they didn't get to write the rules. They had to follow them. Think about this carefully. Every moral system you've inherited was created by someone. And that someone had interests. Morality is not discovered. It is invented. The ruthless understand this at a bone-deep level. They don't blindly follow inherited values. They question. They evaluate. They ask, does this serve life? Does this enable growth? Or is this a chain disguised as a commandment? The comfortable want you compliant. The ruthless choose their own values. But this leads us to something even more disturbing about how most people live their entire lives. The herd mentality. Nietzsche had a term for how most people live herd mentality. The herd doesn't think. The herd follows. The herd seeks safety in numbers, comfort in conformity, identity in belonging. Same thoughts, same fears, same life. Look at how people make decisions. They don't ask, what do I truly want? They ask, what will others think? They choose careers their parents approve of. They hold opinions their friends share. They live lives that look acceptable rather than lives that feel alive. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. The ruthless separate themselves from the herd, not through cruelty, through clarity. They recognize that the crowd's path leads to the crowd's destination. Average, safe, forgettable. They choose discomfort over conformity. This isolation isn't loneliness. It's liberation. Because only by stepping outside the herd can you see where it's actually going and decide if that's where you want to end up. Becoming Übermensch. Nietzsche's most famous and most misunderstood concept is the Übermensch. Not a super being with physical powers. Not a tyrant crushing the weak. The Übermensch is something far more radical, a human who has overcome themselves. Think of it as evolution of the spirit. The Übermensch creates their own values rather than inheriting them. They find meaning in a meaningless universe through sheer creative will. They say yes to life, all of it, including the suffering. I teach you the Übermensch. Man is something that shall be overcome. The ruthless understand that becoming this higher type requires brutal honesty with oneself. Every comfortable illusion must be burned away. Every inherited limitation must be questioned. Destroy to create. This is not easy. Most prefer the warm prison of familiar beliefs, but those who break free, they glimpse what human beings could become, and that vision drives everything they do. Amor fati. Here's where Nietzsche's ruthlessness takes an unexpected turn. Amor fati, love of fate, not passive acceptance, not resignation, active, fierce love of everything that happens to you, every failure, every betrayal, every moment of agony. Embrace. The ruthless don't waste energy wishing things were different. They take what is and forge it into fuel. That rejection became motivation. That loss became wisdom. That suffering became strength, not merely to bear what is necessary, but to love it. Nietzsche himself practiced this against impossible odds, abandoned by friends, mocked by academics, tormented by illness that would have broken lesser spirits. Yet he wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati." The ruthless alchemize pain into power. They don't play victim. They don't seek sympathy. They take their wounds and transform them into weapons. And this transformation brings us to Nietzsche's most terrifying thought experiment, eternal return. Nietzsche proposed a test that separates the truly powerful from everyone else. Imagine you had to live your exact life, every joy, every sorrow, every mundane moment, over and over for eternity. The same choices, the same outcomes, the same regrets forever. Would you scream in despair, or would you embrace it? The ruthless build lives worth repeating. They don't defer happiness to some imaginary future. They don't waste years in situations they would dread reliving. Live so you'd repeat it. This thought experiment cuts through all self-deception. That job you hate, would you repeat it eternally? That relationship that drains you, forever? That dream you keep postponing? What if someday or night a demon were to steal after you and say, "This life, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more"? The eternal return is the ultimate test of how you're spending your one wild life. The ruthless live in a way that passes this test. The price of power. Before you rush to embrace ruthlessness, understand this. Nietzsche himself paid the ultimate price. His final years were spent in madness, cared for by a sister who distorted his work for her own agenda. He never saw his ideas catch fire. He died unknown, his genius unrecognized. The path of the higher type is not a path of comfort. It demands solitude. It invites misunderstanding. It requires bearing truths that others cannot face. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that, in the process, he does not become a monster. True ruthlessness, Nietzschean ruthlessness, is not cruelty toward others. It's uncompromising honesty with yourself. It's the refusal to live below your potential. It's the courage to create meaning in a universe that offers none. The cost is everything comfortable and familiar. The ruthless pay this price willingly, because they understand something the herd never grasps. A comfortable cage is still a cage. So what does this mean for your life? Your dark truth. So here's the dark truth Nietzsche leaves us with. The ruthless win not because they're cruel, but because they are honest. Honest about human nature. Honest about power. Honest about what they want and what they're willing to do to get it. 1. They reject inherited values that don't serve life. 2. They separate from the herd that fears greatness. 3. They create their own meaning through will. 4. They love their fate, including the suffering. 5. They live as if every moment would repeat eternally. You've been handed a blueprint that polite society pretends doesn't exist. The question is, what will you do with it? Remain sheep or become lion? You can return to comfortable illusions. You can keep playing by rules that keep you small, or you can acknowledge the will to power that has always burned within you and finally let it guide your life. Nietzsche didn't promise happiness. He promised something better: authenticity, greatness, a life worth repeating eternally. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. The choice, as always, is yours. Nietzsche's dark truth isn't about becoming heartless. It's about becoming honest. Honest enough to acknowledge that power shapes everything. Honest enough to question values you never chose. Honest enough to live as if your life would repeat eternally. The ruthless don't destroy others. They destroy the illusions holding themselves back. This philosophy isn't comfortable. It wasn't meant to be. It's meant to wake you from the pleasant dream the herd calls life. If you made it this far, you're not like the others. You can handle truths they run from. Comment Ubermensch below if you're ready to stop playing by inherited rules and start creating your own values. The wisdom of the ages is yours. Use it well. If this changed how you see the world, hit subscribe for more forbidden wisdom.